Good afternoon, Richard. Very lovely to see you. How are you?
I'm very well, Fiona. Very well. Much better than I was, I think, last time we got together to chat in this way. Yeah, so much better. It's just great that we're opening. Really, really
Yeah.
good.
Oh, well, as we know, I've been very fortunate working with you with the restart. So I thought it'd be great if we could do, then, like you said, a next stage, isn't it, really? Because we had a great conversation before we were able to reopen. So I thought I'd just, catch up again. So thank you. And to say, how are you? And maybe tell us a bit about the preparation you did for the restarts, as we were kind of calling it, and then I'll ask you some more questions about how it went. So, what were your
Great.
preparations, please?
Good. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just fantastic to be open. I mean, watching it all come together and seeing the lawns being cut and the flowers coming in, the vegetables being picked was just terrific. And to see the teams come back and happy, and they're so happy to be back and smiling, and it's just given everyone such a lift. I mean, we've still got problems. We've still got this thing around us, and financially it's not great. But the lift of just reopening has just been wonderful. And it's interesting, actually. You can just see the strain from the senior management team just lift as soon as we're open, because at last they're in control of things and they're back into the arena that they understand. So we're all in good shape. In terms of the preparation, well, I mean, as you know, I think last time we spoke on this, I probably outlined some of the more structural changes that we were doing, some of the repositioning and the replanning, the repurposing of the houses to take advantage of space and to make them more suitable for social distancing. And we've done a lot of work on that, and we've moved receptions, and we've put marquees up for the creche, and we've built an outdoor gym, and we spread the spa out around the whole place. So there's lots of work gone on in that respect, which I think has all worked, and we think we made the right decisions, and now we're open. We're glad we did it. The GMs and Paul have spent endless amounts of time redoing SOPs and risk assessment and all this stuff, but all to good end. We've come up with a system which is going to work for us all. We tried to keep a sense of reality around that. As you know, we didn't want to lose the fun and the spirit that's behind our hotels, and there's a big question of balance there, and we've worked really hard on that to try and keep things proportionate. We've got a serious disease. We've got to take this very seriously and respect it deeply, and there's no corners to be cut, but we felt there was also a need to keep that risk in perspective and strike a balance, and we put a lot of thought into that to try and make sure we get it right.
That's such a good point, Richard. And I know with the Calcot collection, you decided to stagger the openings. So maybe just remind everybody about the beautiful hotels that you have and how you staggered that. Because like you said, to make sure that the SOPs are ready, make sure the hotels are ready. And you had a great approach we'll talk in a moment about how you restarted, but what made you decide to stagger the hotels for the opening?
Yeah, well, some of it was practical, actually. We needed to employ a very good trainer in yourself, Fiona, and therefore we couldn't do it all on one day. It was too much to take on. But more so, I think we felt there was stuff to learn here. We were going to go through a big learning curve. We all are, and we thought it was sensible to learn from one and take what we've learned onto the next, and to allow things to unravel slowly. Throughout this whole period, I hadn't wanted to push anything. I thought there's absolutely no point. My big mantra has been, we'll open when we're ready and not before. There's no point. The gaining a week is really, in the scheme of things, not important. It was more important to be ready. So we've opened Calcot first, and then a week later we've just opened Barnsley, and we've got a 2-week pause now, and then we'll open Painswick and Royal Crew at the end of the month. Our plan went slightly awry because our plan was actually to open the spas first, so we get our members back in who are desperately anxious to get fit, but that, as we know, got put back. So those aren't open yet, which is a frustration to us, but we're going to get those open on the 25th. We'll be absolutely ready for that. The team are working really hard on that. So yeah, it's been a staggered opening, and I think it was the right decision, and everybody is happy with that.
Sounds good. And like you say, Calcot was open first. So what did you do a few days before you opened that? So again, maybe tell everybody about the dress rehearsal and the training and the so on.
Well,
Because I
yeah,
think it made a massive difference, didn't it, when the doors opened, so to speak, or the gate opened, should we say?
it did. Yeah, well, we had a kind of D-Day plan, so we were D-Day minus 10. We had a big question and answer. We had the whole team on board on a Zoom in groups, so that we could explain what we were doing, and answer all the questions regarding employment and social distancing and how it was going to work. And that was really needed. Um, and uh, and we also the GMs did a video from each property. They walked around the property and filmed it and distributed it. We've got this wonderful app called Beekeeper, which allows us to communicate. So we were able to show everybody what it was like, and that was D-Day minus 10. Then D-Day minus 7, we started the huge cleaning operation. All our cleaning teams came in, and we got the place sorted out and furniture moved and positioned. And then we did 3 days of training. As we spread the training over 3 days, and your help there was invaluable. There was a lot to communicate there. We spent 3-4 months working on this as a management team, and our heads were in the right space. We knew what we had to achieve, we knew what we could do, and we knew how to make it safe. But our teams were coming in, completely new to this, apart from what they'd read on our apps. Some of them hadn't even been to the supermarket. So it was a big step for them to come back to work. And we needed, in the space of a day or two, to bring them up to speed and get them in the same headspace that we were in. And so our training program focused on knowledge. As you know, we wanted to let them know the facts around COVID, dispel some of the myths, and we wanted to talk about our change of behavior, how we were going to behave, how we were going to handle this, and very importantly, we wanted to show them how our style of hospitality could be adapted and not compromised with everything we had to do with social distance. And that was a big challenge, and we were really grateful for your help in doing that. And then that all built up to a trial night. And I'm so glad we did the trial night, but we invited friendly faces to come and stay with us and have dinner. And we filled the house to about 70%, and put everybody through this kind of training program, which led up to the trial night. And we did it for Hospitality Action, so people made donations to the charity. And it wasn't perfect. It was really good. It was better than I thought it would be. But the team needed this opportunity to practice and see how it felt, and then debrief and change things slightly and gain confidence and move forward to when we had our first paying guests in the next day. And it seems to work well. It was interesting. You would have seen it, but a lot of our team arrived with this look of anxiety, this great fear and trepidation of what they're going to be required to do. And I think by the end of the day, they left with what felt like a renewed confidence and an understanding that what they could do and remain safe.
Well, Richard, as you know, it's been an absolute pleasure working with you and the team. And like you said, I don't think we were ready. We were ready for so much, wasn't it? But it was like ready for how different people were feeling about coming back to work and so on. And certainly when they left the room, they seemed to feel a lot better. So what have we been receiving from our guests? What sort of feedback have we received from our guests so far, Richard?
Yeah, well, most importantly, top of the list, they're telling us they feel safe. And that's obviously critical, and they're going out of their way to say that as they leave. They're saying, look, we felt safe. We've been to other places. It didn't, but it felt really good, and that was important to us. And I think also they felt they've been pleasantly surprised that the Calcot experience has survived the changes. We've tried to approach it in a relaxed way. And I think we've seen people arrive and with trepidation thinking, what's this going to be like? What's this whole experience? Is it going to work? How am I going to feel? Is it going to be worth it? Am I going to waste my money? Am I going to leave feeling tense? Am I going to catch something? And I think we've set about to try and dispel that fear and relax them. And that's been very important. And they seem to have risen to that. They've been lovely, actually. I mean, it's been really uplifting. They've been fabulous. They've been adaptable. They've been respectful of the need for our staff to be looked after, and for them to keep distance from our teams as well. They've been understanding, they've been appreciative, and they've loved being back. They've loved being back to us, and it's our regulars coming back actually. So all our regulars are booked for the first few weeks, so we know them and they know us, and that's been wonderful. So it's been a good experience. I mean, it hasn't all been easy. We've got some operational pinch points. Some of it's quite hard. Some of the areas need more labour resource than they did before, and we're having to adapt to that, and we're having to sort those out. It feels a bit like a new opening actually. You can only go so far in the planning, and actually you've got to get open before you can get the next layer of detail on top, and that's where our focus is now and for the next few weeks. We've got a lot of ironing out to do to sort out some of those operational pinch points. But we're in comfort territory now. We know what to do about these things, and we're back in control, and that's great.
And I know you did an awful lot of work to make sure the guests knew what to expect to a degree, isn't it? But of course, it's only when they arrive they know. What sort of main changes are they noticing, Richard? Have they said to you? Because like you said, the service, we're really making sure it's very much hospitality, isn't it? And very much the golden rules of hospitality. But what sort of things are they noticing primarily, or just in general?
Well, as you know, we've moved the reception, and I think that's a big thing, because when they arrive, there's lots of space, and they don't need to get near anybody. Everything is done before they arrive, so that makes it very relaxed. So I think that's one difference. All of a sudden, there is space. The restaurants are quieter because we've spread them out. We have this system where we're putting the plates on the end of the table that's not occupied, and they have to then draw them across. And this was something we were nervous about. Would our guests run with this? Would they think, well, this is help yourself stuff, and not run with it? But they've loved it. They've engaged with it. It makes them feel safe, and they know it's to keep our team safe as well. So that's probably a very big change. They're having to pour their own wine, but that's great. They're very happy and very keen to do that. We were quite worried about whether we'd be able to still chat and engage in that interactive way, and we can. You can still do it from 2 meters away, and our team's been very good at that. They speak a little bit louder, but the restaurants are more spread out, so it's quieter, so they can do that. So I think they're still getting that little bit better interaction, which we were scared might disappear. The team seem to be quite confident to do that from a certain amount of distance. We're allowing, we're giving people the option actually in their rooms for them not to be serviced. We're giving them the option to have their room completely undisturbed by anybody. So if they want to just have a pile of towels delivered and to refresh their room themselves, that's an option. It's interesting, but we're finding most people don't want that. They want the full service. They're quite relaxed. They don't mind people coming into their room, but they've got the option to say, no, we want to hibernate here and not have that.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because we were wondering whether most guests would still want that service. So that most of them probably are, but at least we're asking them, aren't we, and letting them choose.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's interesting they still do want that. And I think probably at this end we are getting the people who are quite relaxed about these things. Otherwise, I don't think they would have been so proactive and booked early on in the spectrum. So we're getting the people who are quite relaxed about this and are not very fearful at the moment. But you see some anxieties. We know we've had some people who've questioned a party sitting in the corner of the room because there's 8 of them, and are they in the right family and pod? So we still have people who are looking around and being anxious and wanting reassurance that everything around them is okay. And of course you've got the people who are COVID bored, as I think you've put it, where they just want to get on with it. They don't want any of the stuff going on, and you've got the people who are anxious. But I think we've trained the teams to adapt to both sets of people, and they're responding well to that, and that seems to be working.
And I think, like you said, that they're having more conversations in some respects, but just from a slight distance, or you're calling it social distance with a smile. So how are the guests responding to the T-shirts and the phrase and so on, Richard?
Yeah, well, the t-shirts are great actually, and once again, I think that's just a token of trying to relax people when they arrive. We've got these big t-shirts on saying social distance with a smile, and that just causes a little bit of it demystifies it a little bit, and they see that we can be. Obviously it's a deadly serious thing, but you can be a little bit cheeky with it, have a little bit of humor around it, and I think that's the important thing. It's not so much what it says; it just says, you know, this is okay. Um, and it also gets across. I think we did it initially because we thought that our guests might not understand why we weren't coming up and shaking their hand and giving them a hug. But of course, all our guests understand that. They've been out and about now and been in shops, and they understand that anyway. So I think it's more about the breaking the mystique and saying, look, we're here and we're smiling and we're with you, even if we're not really close. And I think they get that.
Yeah, and I feel that the housekeeping team have always been amazing, but I really love that you gave them cleaning champions t-shirts, and I think that we've really given a lot more emphasis to the housekeeping team, haven't we? And we've always been very, very grateful of them anyway, but I think even more so now, isn't it? How are they responding, the housekeeping team?
Brilliantly, absolutely brilliantly, and it's just the most important thing. The most important thing. I mean, and we're not requiring our teams to wear masks. We are giving them the option. We've bought masks. Everyone's got a mask if they want to wear it, but they've got the option. But not many of them are. They're happy, and we think that's fine, provided everything else is in place. Everything else we've considered is in place, and the biggest part of that is the cleaning. And we've got endless amounts of touch point cleaning going on, and lots of cleaning in between customers and guests, and fogging machines, and masses of cleaning going on. So our cleaning team are critical, and they responded brilliantly, and they're running around like an army of cleaning. And actually, I think they're very proud because all of a sudden their role, it's always been important, but all of a sudden it's visibly important. We don't want them anymore just cleaning in the background. We want them cleaning visibly, so that our guests can see that this is going on. It needs to be visible, and so that's good. That's giving them a lift, and it's underlining their importance, which has always been hugely important anyway.
Wonderful. And like you say, and with the team, and what sort of feedback are you getting from the team, Richard? Because I know for the first few days, like you said, it was sort of easing them back into it and building up their stamina as well, wasn't it? You know, because it's full on, isn't it? And there's a lot going on. What sort of feedback have you received from the Calcot team? And obviously it's slightly to a degree the Barnsley House team and the Village Pub. What sort of things are the team saying?
Well, I think overridingly, without a doubt, they're really happy to be back. I mean, it was really heartwarming to see how happy they were to be back, and not just be back in some kind of normality, but to see the people they work with and feel valued again. So it's been great, and I think that is overriding. They're really happy to be back. There's no question about it. Some of them are still very anxious, and we've got a journey to go through. They all enjoyed the training. It lifted them. It gave them confidence. But there are still some anxiety there, and we have a bit of a tightrope to walk actually, because we have to deliver operationally, but we have to give them time to build confidence. We don't want anybody doing anything they're not confident in. It has to be a golden rule. We've got to let them come to this in measures and come up to speed, and understand what we're doing is safe. We've got to give them time to do that, but we have to deliver operationally. So it is a bit of a tight walk, and like so many things throughout this COVID, it's about balance. We've also got some who are perhaps too relaxed too early, and we've also got to ensure that they don't forget that this social distancing is important. It's not just a thing we're doing. It's really important. So we've got to hit this balance.
Yes.
But overridingly, they're so happy to be back, and I hope it lasts.
I'm sure it will. And when I know every step of the way, like you said, the spas are going to be opening on the 21st, and you're just having to follow the guidance as it comes along, isn't it, really? But like you said, you've been doing so much preparation anyway.
Yeah, spas feel hard actually. I mean, we're lucky to have Kathy, and she's got a great team looking after the spas, so they're all over it. But the spas feel hard. There are so many changes to put into place. There's a lot more anxiety around it, and we've got to consider the needs of members as well as hotel guests. We've got to put timing stuff into into process. So spas feel hard, but we will get there, and there'll be a huge relief when they open.
Just maybe tell it, because we have a lot of members, don't we, Richard, at Calcot Spa? How many members are there?
Yeah, we've got 500, and I mean, normally, I mean, it's set up so that actually the spa can deliver to both members and hotel residents. It's worked that way for 15 years now, and it's worked beautifully, and the capacities are fine. But all of a sudden, we can only let 5 people in the gym at once, and we can only let 6 people in the pool at once, and they've got to have a time slot. And that's a different way of working, and our members have got to adjust to having to book in rather than just walk into their spa. And then we've also got to shoehorn our residents in at the same time. So that is a challenge. It's a completely different set of challenges. But we've got a fantastic team in there, and they're really on it. So it's going to be great. But it's the same with Calcot. It's the same with Barnsley. It's that 10 days before you open which are the hardest. When you've got all these things coming together and you've got to pull together. As soon as you cross the line and you're open, you can just feel the sense of relief, and then you can start working on the detail. So it'll all be good. We haven't got the creche open either, which is a shame. But we're not allowed to open indoor creche yet. But we've built a marquee, and we've got all sorts of children's activities going on in different corners in there, so they can social distance with their parents. One parent's got to be with them, and that's working too. But we'd like to get that open as well as our final 2 hotels.
Yes, absolutely. And I suppose the big question is, Richard, maybe tell us, how is business on the books? How is it looking sort of like the 6 months ahead at the moment, please?
Well, the summer's looking great. August and September are looking great, and actually above expectation. We did all sorts of forecasts for the bank when we went into this crisis, and I think we're going to exceed those. So that's the good news. We can't really see much beyond mid-September, October. Then it seems to drop off like a cliff. But that's not worrying me, because I don't think anybody is thinking about October yet. They're just thinking about the summer, and why would you commit to anything in October at the moment? You wouldn't. So it will come. And I think the signs are good. I mean, our restaurants are as busy as we want them to be at the moment, which is only half capacity. But we want to be only as busy as we're comfortable with, and we're at that level now, and that's great. And there seems to be an appetite. People want to come back to our restaurants. They're not frightened, and they're feeling relaxed. So that's a good sign. So provided that the second wave is containable and doesn't cause us any issues, and we don't have to do anything drastic around that, I feel more confident about the next 6 months than I did even 4 or 5 weeks ago. Now we've got over the line and seen how people are reacting, and also knowing that we can do it. I mean, as hard as we planned and as much thought we gave it, there was always that element of doubt in our mind. How would our guests react? How would they behave around this? Would our teams be happy to commit to doing what they need to do? And I think we're crossing that barrier now. So we're feeling increasingly confident. Of course, what we need is the vaccine. Vaccine would be a huge game changer, and that's what we need for a rapid recovery. But I'm hanging on that. I think that's going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. There was some information in the news again today, wasn't there, Richard? So let's hope so, definitely. Well, I'm delighted that business is good, and like you said, I mean, Calcot Collection has such a loyal guest base, isn't it? But also, when I speak to the team, you've got lots of new guests arriving as well to try out the collection. So that's always good to see, isn't it?
Yeah, it's important. It's lifeblood. We need new people coming through. So yeah, that's great, and yeah, so that's all good.
Where better to be, that's for sure, isn't it? So, Richard, I know with your leadership style with the team, how have you found you've needed to be with the reopening? Just as my sort of final question for you, how do you feel you've needed to be with the team, and of course the directors and the general managers, because it's all happening really, really well, isn't it? How do you feel your role has had to be during that time?
Yeah, well, that's interesting, isn't it? I mean, I think when I started out, I felt this huge need to lead the team through it, and felt I needed to be leading, and hopefully I did to a degree. I think as things gathered, it became the general managers and hotel directors, really got this bit between their teeth, and really took it forward at their own pace. And to a sense, I found myself, watching from behind and trying to monitor and see how it was going. But they all took it on as general managers and directors and strode forward with it, really, really, really well. So I became more supportive in my role rather than leading. And I think that looking back on it, I think that was the right thing. I mean, pulling 4 hotels to open at one time is a big task. And I've got some very competent people, general managers and directors in the team. And it was right that I would support them rather than lead them. I didn't always find that easy, if I'm honest. It's not always a style I'm happy with, but it was the right thing, and they have individually brought it together really well. I think they've done a fantastic job, and I'm full of admiration for how they've done it.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you, Richard. So obviously Painswick is next. What are you planning to do for the week ahead, Richard? What have you got to spend some time doing before you head off to, well, I know you're going to head off to Lord Crewe Arms, aren't you? And Painswick and so on. What are your plans for the week ahead?
Well, I think once again, both general managers are on it. I mean, they're really on it, and they're also talking to our other general managers at Calcot and Barnsley, Paul and Michael, and learning from them, and that's important. We need to pick up what we've learned. We've learned a lot, and we need to pick that up and spread it so that we learn for those 2 properties, and take advantage of what we've learned. So I'm trying to encourage as much of that as I can, so that we can be ahead of that and just kind of assist with the preparation. But they are both opening on the same time. I can't be at both, so I'm going to be up north, and we've got plenty of senior managers who will be around for the Painswick opening too. So I think we're in the final cruise now, and we're almost there.
Fantastic. Anything you'd like to share with, anything extra, should I say? You shared so much. Thank you so much, Richard. Anything in particular for people that are about to open or are thinking, should we open yet? Anything in particular you'd say to them?
Well, I think I would try to reassure them that if they are fearful and they think it's going to be difficult and they're worried about how people react, I think our experience should give some reassurance that the guests are going to be great. They're going to be flexible. They're going to be understanding, and it isn't going to be as big a hurdle as they may or may not be feeling. So I think I'd definitely give them encouragement there. I think also there's got to come a time when we start looking beyond this. I mean, it's going to end. We don't know when it's going to end, but we're going to get through this. We're going to get out of this, and we've got a massive opportunity to deal with the crisis that we had when we went into this. To do with recruitment and bringing people into our industry, and as an industry we can really help bring the country back to full employment. We've got a need, and there's unemployment out there, so there's a massive opportunity there that we need to be thinking about beyond COVID, with apprenticeships and bringing people who may be losing employment in retail into our industry. So there's a big opportunity there, and I hope that we can look beyond COVID towards that and come out of this stronger. And I think we've got every chance of doing that.
Thank you, Richard. We all know, you and I certainly know, it's an amazing industry, isn't it? But thank you, because as always, Calcot Collection are doing it really well, taking it seriously, like you said, but doing an incredible job. And so I wish you all the very best, Richard. I just want to say thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, Fiona, and thank you for everything you're doing for us. We really appreciate it.
Absolute pleasure. Take good care, Richard, and I'll see you very soon.
Thank you, Fiona.